What I have noticed repeatedly with leaders who have context gap feedback is a particular pattern. They have one style. It is a good style. It works well in at least some of their key relationships. But they are delivering that same style to every stakeholder. The CFO who values brevity and bottom line thinking. The CHRO who values deep listening and emotional awareness. The board chair who values certainty and conviction. 5 stakeholders, 5 different definitions of presence, and one leader delivering the same approach to all 5. This is not laziness. It is unconscious. Most leaders have never asked the explicit question, what does this specific person consider strong presence? They default to a single style and hope it lands broadly enough. Sometimes it does, usually it does not. And the stakeholders where it misses are the ones producing the context gap feedback. The feedback feels inconsistent because some relationships work well and others do not. But the inconsistency is not in the leader. It is in the fit between one style and multiple different definitions of what presence means. The exercise is deceptively simple. List your 5 most important stakeholders. For each, write one sentence describing what they consider strong presence. Not the 5 most senior, the 5 whose perception of you matters most for your effectiveness and career. That distinction is important. The 5 most important stakeholders for presence development may not be the 5 most senior people in your world. A peer whose support you need for a critical initiative matters more than a senior executive you see twice a year. Here is what a map might look like for a COO with 5 key relationships. The CFO values brevity. When this CFO says a leader has presence, they mean someone who gets to the point, states the recommendation clearly, and backs it with numbers, not narratives. The CHRO values listening. When the CHRO says presence, they mean someone who asks good questions, creates space for others, and demonstrates emotional attunement. The board chair values certainty. Presence to this board chair means someone who projects conviction about strategic direction, even under questioning. The CEO values strategic vision, not operational detail. And the VP of engineering values technical depth and specificity. 3 stakeholders, 5 actually, and each one using the same word to mean something completely different. Here is what the mapping reveals. You are not failing at presence. You are succeeding at one definition of presence and applying it to audiences who define it differently. The CFO gets the narrative approach that works with the CHRO. The board chair gets the collaborative questioning that works with direct reports. Each audience is receiving a style that is genuinely strong, just not the one they are evaluating against. This reframe matters. The work is not fix your presence. The work is calibrate your delivery for the specific audience. That is a much more targeted and achievable development path than trying to overhaul who you are as a leader. The map also shows where your natural style already aligns with stakeholder expectations. These relationships require no adjustment. For the COO example, a naturally data-driven, thorough style aligns well with the CFO and the VP of engineering. Those relationships are already working. The presence feedback from those stakeholders is positive. Identify these alignment points. They tell you something important. Your style is not the problem. The mismatch between your style and specific audiences is the problem. That distinction keeps you from attempting wholesale personality renovation when targeted calibration is what you actually need. The widest gaps between your natural style and stakeholder expectations are your calibration targets. For the same COO, the CEO wants vision and the board chair wants conviction. The COO's data-driven thoroughness creates friction in those 2 relationships because those audiences are evaluating against a different template. The work is targeted, not wholesale personality renovation. You are not becoming a different leader. You are calibrating for 2 or 3 specific relationships where the current style does not land. Trying to please every stakeholder simultaneously is a different trap. The goal is not to become a different person for each relationship. It is to make informed choices about where to invest adaptation effort. List your 5 most important stakeholders right now, not the 5 most senior, the 5 whose perception of you matters most for your effectiveness and career. For each one, write 1 sentence. What does this person consider strong presence? If you cannot answer that question for any of them, that gap in understanding is where your context work starts. The inability to answer is itself a diagnostic finding. It means you have been operating without data about what your most important audiences actually value. You have the map now. You know what each stakeholder values. The question is, can you actually deliver differently in different rooms? Not in theory, in practice. That is what the next exercise tests. Because knowing what 5 audiences want and being able to switch between 5 delivery styles under pressure are 2 very different capabilities.